The challenges that I faced were my generation was the onlys. We were, and sometimes that's still the case at welding, but I always gravitate towards those spaces. So I'm probably the weirdo in the room that when I found out it was 3% women in welding, I was like, let's go there. Or, when I was in home building, it literally was it wasn't a conscious choice to say, what are women not doing? It was more of saying, like, what's the toughest thing I can do? I mean, that's the Ironman triathlete in me. That's the marathon runner. That's the summit climber. It's just, raising the bar on yourself, right? They call it leveling up now. It's just constantly leveling myself up and saying, like, what's the pinnacle? Well, I want to run this place. I want to get into operations. And maybe it was because I was so gender agnostic as a kid and had an older brother. I did not have sisters. I never really saw that until we were really heavily placed into management in our careers in the early 2000s to say, oh, there's a separation here. I wasn't realizing I was the only until people started saying that to me. And then I started saying, like, okay, now I need to be cleaner, faster, stronger, better in management. I think it's a little bit less now, still a lot of the same challenges, still a lot of the same, here we are in a very interesting climate of like, oh, is it back to being merit-based? Or are we equitable? Well, I'm not against merit-based. I think any woman will tell you, of course, it should be the best person for the job. And I'm it, by the way, because I'm going to work the hardest to get it. But if you couldn't get in the room to begin with, that's the struggle. And so that's what I'm consistently telling to men in most industries. I talk to men more often than not right now. And that's why I try to see all lenses. Maybe that's the mature me. Whereas I used to be a fighter in my 20s to be like, nah, we're going to go get this. Now it's just like, okay, let's unpack that. Tell me more about what you think the challenge is if you're the majority. And if there's 97% men in the C-suite in an industry like welding, I want to unpack it and say, like, what do you see here? Do you see any inequity or what's the challenge? And so that's why with Reimagined Rosie's, what I was hearing more of was, I'm not trying to not hire women, Demi. I just, where do I find these unicorns?